Welcome back to Opinionated, brought to you by the Black Star Network and sponsored by the Black Gold Empire. Today we're covering the topic of the age of robotics and artificial intelligence. Today I've got with me...
I'm Tandy. I'm a court officer by profession.
I'm a Yuba. I'm a student and a youth mediator.
I'm Anthony. I'm a motivational speaker and run some projects in social media and events.
And my name is Mikos. I'm a critical thinker.
And of course, you know me, I'm Nia, and I will be moderating this today. So guys, today's topic. I know it's a bit more on the nerdy side, but we need to dive into it, right? So I'll start with what you guys understand about robotics, or robots, or artificial intelligence.
We should start with the critical thinker.
Okay.
That's awesome. I wish I thought of that. I was like, I'm a critical thinker. That would be so cool.
What do you understand by what being
robotics in general?
It's about replacing human efforts and human I wouldn't say existence, but human that human factor that's being put in to produce something or to get an end result. Taking that out and replacing it with like technological advancements, for instance, like gadgets and systems and softwares that can do stuff that a human would otherwise do.
Okay. What do you think about that, Anthony? Do you second that?
I second that. In so many aspects of the world that we live in, we're seeing technology taking over. In fact, I mean, it's actually happening to a scale that's really scary. Like we should all be aware that, technology is this beast that is really taking over the world. I mean, it's from everything to, I can right now call someone in India, right, on my phone and see their face and have a conversation.
Yeah,
I don't even need
great.
to be in front of them. I can have a full-blown face-to-face meeting with someone. People can interview for jobs using all this technology. In fact, I heard just a few weeks ago on the news that, and I don't know if anyone else heard this as well, but Facebook created this AI that literally learnt its own language, taught other AI that same language, and they were communicating with each other without the control of Facebook. So Facebook had to shut the operation down because they could, if you think about what that means, right? In the world that we live in, which is a scary world where you've got things like, nuclear war as a topic that everyone's being quite concerned about, and you've got technology that's controlling stuff like this. What if the AI is able to communicate with each other and decide, let's just launch them?
That is actually a
that's a really extreme example, but potentially if what we're talking about, AI can create their own language, communicate with each other, a language that we as humans can't understand, and they can do things without our control. Is that not possible? Right?
That is possible.
So I mean, it's happening at a scale that I think everyone should be aware of, but it's about being conscious of these things, and I think us being able to talk about our experience of, robotics and robots in the world that we live in is important, not just in terms of creating awareness of that, but also in terms of us being able to have an analytical discussion, evaluation about what that really means in the world that we live in.
So, Ayuba, I'll throw this at you. What do you think the impact would be on us generally, everywhere, when we talk about robotics? Automation and stuff, yeah.
I think it kind of links back to your point, and I think when we say robots, it gets like, people can have this kind of image of like, and it's always a bad image of like, but then that is possible, you said nuclear war, but then when you see like, I forgot the movie was called with Will Smith, like when robots have their own, iRobot, that's it.
Yeah.
But then I think when we talk about robots, we talk about like computer systems and stuff, and I feel like the effect that would have on people is, yes, unemployment will increase. And the reason why I say that is because, I mean, I recently did an internship at an investment bank, and obviously way back in the day, obviously there was much more interaction with the whole banking industry. You couldn't just type something on the computer and something would be sent across or a transaction would be made. But now robots have taken over that job, and now you told a robot to do that. Now, I feel that it's kind of starting a ripple effect where the same people that are in work right now, their jobs can be done by a robot. I feel like you said, it'll be some sort of, I'm not very...
Replacement?
Yeah, it'll be a replacement, but I'm not really into maths, but I feel like there'll be some sort of algebraic equation or something that will get someone's job, but then it's true, but I feel like we generally have a really bad... we generally think about really bad stuff, but I think obviously within our control, robots can be very beneficial as well.
Yeah.
Right, so I'll throw this one at you.
Okay.
Right, so what happens? What do you think would happen if all of this comes to life? What would happen to third world countries, for instance, who will probably take a while to get to that particular stage that I think we all are scared of? What do you think what are the possible implications that could happen in countries that can't afford such, basically?
I think overpopulation, because if everyone is like me, I'm scared of this whole robot thing, basically. I mean, just simple things, like he was saying, you can communicate with someone from a different country. Your bank systems, people can easily hack your bank system, people can take identities, just like that. So it's quite beneficial that third world countries are slightly behind in comparison to first world countries, because people would then have a place to go to. There might be overpopulation. I'm thinking far ahead. There might be overpopulation, but people might have a place to go to because of the ripple effect that's going to happen when you actually have no control and you don't know what AIs they're creating now. There's just so much going on with this whole robotic system that people, they might end up losing control. I mean, at the moment, coding is okay. We can code stuff and then create all these fancy things which everyone is into. And these children of today, now they're all so high tech. I don't know if it's my age, but I'm a bit scared, and I'm more a people person. I want to deal with people. I don't want to deal with a machine, basically.
And I think I just wanted to say, linking to that point about younger people being very high tech, I think the big concern with that is now when these young people grow up, all they've known is robots in a way. All they've known is their phones. They've never gone way back where none of this existed and there wasn't any robots. So it's like in the future, our lives are going to be so dependent on these machines. It's like we've never known anything before that. That's what it would be like.
So would you rather have a robot doing your house chores and like doing all of these things and do it efficiently rather than having, I'll throw this at you actually, rather than having like a normal human person who's maybe a cleaner who would do your job but not do it properly, or probably do it mumbling stuff under their throat, or like, you know, not doing it out of their heart, but you know the robot is definitely going to do it the way it wants. So you would rather have a human serve you than have the efficiency of a robot who would do everything the way that you want it to be done?
I'd rather deal with a human being, because then you come to the question of conscious. You might create a robot, but a human being, can you create consciousness within a robot? Because if you program that robot in a certain way, and I don't know, something twitchy happens, I'm in my sleep and this robot comes and starts choking me with all its power. I read too many novels, clearly. And then I'm like, in my head, a human being maybe might have an element of consciousness. They might, oh, I don't want to go to hell, let me not kill her. Robot,
no, I think a human would have more chances of strangling you to death than a robot. Because I think with technology there's more certainty. And I think we're worried about all the wrong things when it comes to this robot. We're in 2017. I don't expect to still be using BlackBerry and like big up to all this. But it's like, what is the main problem behind all this robotism and all this technological advancement? I think personally is really those people in charge of creating and endorsing these products, and those people in charge of, like, you know, designing the software and administering it to whatever group it is, wherever it is, be young kids or whatever product you're talking about.
Okay.
But I think that's really the important thing, because we're human beings. We've got different types of, like, species. Like, we've got goats, we've got cows, we've got, you know. I need to get to 2026 and live like I'm 2026. So, like, talk about replacing, and talk about, with your question, would I rather have a human or have a robot? I'd rather have a robot. But it doesn't mean it's going to replace humans, because the only reason it would replace humans is if the people in charge of making these policies, in charge of, you know, if we could get to a time in the world where everyone is quite satisfied and you don't even have to work as much. You know, we can actually get there. We have the resources, we have all of that stuff, and that's what the advancement, that's what the technology is meant to be. That's what it's meant to take us closer to that point where we can live like humans, like the highest species. But if, like, I don't know, that's the way I see it.
But then,
What
one
about
thing I just wanted to say about your part, and jobs, this links to jobs as well, but...
And poverty.
There's
Did you think it's
different-
going to increase poverty?
I think with what you said, in terms of, like, the question you asked as well, whether you'd rather have a robot or a human do it. Now, it depends on what side you're looking at. Looking at the situation from, as if it's my house and I want to relax, I'd rather have a robot do it. If the robot is programmed to do it in the best possible way, robots are reliable, that's what you know. But then, in terms of other people that need those jobs, would they rather have a robot or a human do it? And I feel like the thing that is really shaping the way in which robots impact our life isn't only work, it's about efficiency, it's about luxury. But then in terms of moving forward to, I think you said 2026 or something like that, will everybody in the world, including people in third world countries, still be able to benefit from the luxury of having a robot do everything for you?
You see,
because
the
they're
thing,
not
the
right
thing
now.
with this technological advancement is, like, fair enough, you're being forced to grow. I think that's the way I say it. And all these jobs that are going out of people, like we humans, that's what we are. We need to get to that point where we're trying to survive, where we're trying to grow. We need to get to that point in life, and we need to look back at this time and be like, we can't believe we're doing things this way. That, you know,
I think we still feel that now, because we look at what our parents and grandparents had at the time and what we have now. We're like, oh my god. Even they are like, oh my god, and they have to, like, catch up to us sometimes.
Yeah.
All this social media.
But as time goes on, we need to leave a bigger gap than what they left.
I mean, here's where I'm coming in now. I mean, I think when I was a young child, I don't know if anyone watched the Jetsons. I don't know if anyone else was around for the Jetsons, but it was like this world of robots and everything. You jump in a spaceship and it floats you to the next house and that kind of thing. Everything was done for you. We're not there, clearly, but you know, that was the image that everybody had of what robots were going to be in probably 2010. You know, we're 7 years beyond that or whatever. Anyway, I think that you have to find a balance when you're looking at bringing robots into life, and I can give two really good examples. The first is probably a bit more humorous. So, I mean, my background is from Africa. I'm from West Africa. And if I'm going to have a robot do everything for me, the people that create these robots, they need to be, what's the word, multicultural or humanitarian or whatever. Because, you know, if it comes to getting a robot that cooks food, right, and I say I want okra soup, is this robot programmed to understand what I mean by that and how to actually properly cook the food the way I want it to be cooked?
So if you have the right manager endorsing and creating this particular product,
then that would be amazing. That would be amazing. The thing is, I don't, within the technological companies at the moment, I'm not quite sure we're there where it's being catered to all cultures. And being able to be sensitive in, for example, the Far East, in a different way to the way it should be in the Middle East, or in Southern Africa, or in Central America. You see what I mean? I think to some degree you need to be able to have robots that can almost either make different forms of or versions of a robot, alterations, you know, that can adjust to the culture that robot is being processed in, because there are going to be certain differences, but it needs to not be at a level where, for instance, you have Siri and doesn't recognize certain accents at the moment on mobile phones.
Right, of course.
So there are things like that I think one needs to be conscious of, and there is a limitation there when it comes to technology in the way that we use it. You know, so that's just one thing. The other thing I would say is, and someone mentioned, you know, in third world countries, for instance, and being able to adapt with the technology that we have. I saw something. There's a banking app that will allow people to bank using voice recognition. I don't know if anyone else has heard about this at all. But you can basically transfer money by saying, "Hi, I want to transfer X amount of money to contact Y."
Is that it? And it just gets...
And it's done. And what that does is it's meant to be the cure to illiteracy in certain parts of the world. Now, my thing is, if you're going to have an app like that, surely that's probably the most dangerous thing that you can do.
Yeah.
Because if people are illiterate and you're giving them the ability to transfer money without understanding what a balance sheet looks like, or understanding what the accounts then look like once that transfer goes through, or even understanding the terms and conditions of signing up for that technology. Surely if you're going to encourage technology, you need to then encourage a drive for financial literacy and other types of literacy to ensure that that actually becomes a viable solution in the world. It can't just be technology without education and everything else that's supposed to come with it.
Yeah, but if somebody is literate enough to get a technology like that, they should be smart enough to know how to transfer money, because that touches on like the point that I was making in third world countries. It's going to take them a while to get there. There are illiterates all over the world, but I mean, for someone to be able to get hold of such a technology, they should be smart enough to know how to why they need to transfer money.
Not necessarily. For instance, sorry to interrupt, but not necessarily. What if I, for example, was to donate my iPhone, which is a pretty high tech phone, to I don't know Guatemala, to a village where they've never seen that technology before. Now they have access to this technology of banking. So it's not necessary that people are going to be literate to be able to get a hold of that technology.
Don't you think that for them to be able to get that particular app and learn how to use it, they would actually have educated themselves in some kind of way to be able to use it?
No, because I can tell you, for instance, if I'm illiterate, okay, and you're going to show me how to use this iPad, right? You can show me how to use the iPad. I would not have an understanding of any words that are written there, but if I know how to use that, then I can actually start to make transactions using the iPad, even though I wouldn't be able to understand the words there. The point of this technology is to allow people who can't read to use it. So being able to read is not a prerequisite to getting this technology. Purely just being there is the prerequisite to get that technology.
I want to hear what you have to say.
Well, this is what I'm thinking. How are you going to create all of these robots? That means you're using more resources. We're already talking about climate change, etc. You're using all of these robots. Are they going to need fuel to run? Which resources are you going to use? When they break down, where are you going to dump them? Are you going to recycle the material? Is it going to be thrown away? What's going to happen? I think technology is just going so overboard now. We already have climate change. In South Africa, it snows sometimes. In Pretoria, it snows. Cape Town, I understand because it's closer to the South Pole. But in Pretoria, it snowed. This is South Africa.
And you think that has to do with?
That's to do with climate change, because we're abusing the world. We're abusing nature. World is the nature. It's not a robot. So you might create as many fancy robots as you want, but at the end of the day, are we going to use all of the resources? Because for you to create that robot, how are you going to run it and how are you going to build it?
Okay, let me just bring this back for a minute. You made a point earlier about how every time the word robot is mentioned, everybody thinks about it negatively.
Yeah.
But you've got planes driving themselves, trains driving themselves.
Yeah,
you've got some cars driving themselves.
Yeah.
Don't
Is
trust
that
it.
so bad?
Don't
Yes.
trust
To be honest,
No, I mean,
this is why I said...
it. I don't trust any of it.
This is why I mentioned luxury, and I think when you're looking at this from a certain point, from a certain perspective, as a consumer, if I could have a car that drives itself, I wouldn't mind. If I could be in a plane where I don't have to hire, and hopefully I'm rich enough to have a private jet or something. But if I have a private jet where I don't need to hire a pilot and the jet just flies by itself, then
what you're talking about actually happens now, except that you actually have a human making sure that it's going the right way. When you're flying 14 hours, do you think the pilot is constantly
No, it's an
holding the
autopilot.
joystick? No, they actually sleep for hours and rely on the plane to fly itself.
Yeah.
But we still get to where we're going, but we have that human there to actually control what is happening. It happens in cars and trains and all of that. And I don't think that's so bad. It's
To be honest,
convenient for all of us.
I think what's good about it is the fact that no matter how much technology, because over the past 20 years, technology has developed so much, and I feel like over the past 10 years, with the next 10 years, the technology is going to develop more than it has in the past 20 years, and the 5 years after that, it's going to develop quicker. So as we go on, it develops quicker. But one trend is that we're always in control of it. We don't let a plane fly itself without the pilot being there to monitor the autopilot.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, from when I feel like it starts to get dangerous, where the pilot steps off the plane and says, "All right, have a nice flight," because the plane is going to take you there, and it's like now this is where we move to technology doing everything by itself, and anything could go wrong, and that's where now we don't have control over that. So that's why I say, in terms of luxury, in terms of efficiency, that's why technology is good, because we still have control over it. And people talk about how it's scary and it can be dangerous, and it can be very beneficial as well. It's hard to explain.
What I want to touch on right now, I think that most people are worried about robots taking over humanity, but the real thing is robots are there to help. I think what could help, what could make things worse is AI, artificial intelligence, and robots joining together, which means that a robot can think for itself, nurture and grow for itself, teach another robot how to do everything, and then they're going to realize that, hang on a second, humanity, what have they been doing to the earth? What have global whatever? Okay, they're making it snow in Pretoria, so let's just destroy all of them. That is something that could happen if both things could come together, don't you think?
Yeah, I mean,
that is the scary part. I don't think it's robots on its own. I think that is a combination of artificial intelligence and robots.
I wouldn't even go that far. Sorry again to interrupt. I wouldn't even go that far to say that it's robots and technology coming together, or robots and AI coming together, because when it comes down to it, we are the ones that have to program these robots. We're the ones that create them. So I think, like everything, the people that create the robots are the source of whether it's useful or dangerous or whatever it is.
It's not the,
But as humans, as you can see, we've been pushing the limit and pushing the limit. I mean, 200 years ago, you would have never thought that, we would be FaceTiming other people, but we keep pushing and pushing and pushing. We're going to do you not think that we're going to get to a point where we will be able to control all of this and live a happy ever after life, and then somebody will be more curious to push it further, and then that will just,
I think as the pushing happens, it's controlled by humans. So I feel like the real danger isn't for robots to start thinking for themselves, because everything that robots think about, humans have given them the chance to think about it. They limit what they can think about. The real danger is the more powerful that robots become, who's controlling what the humans are thinking? This is where it gets to a point where someone can go off and create a robot that has artificial intelligence and then program it for the wrong thing, and that's where the danger comes. That's what I feel.
That is what I'm trying to. Okay, so I'll end this with this, right?
Okay.
So I was reading an article in The Guardian that said that we're teaching or educating our kids to grow up to fail because of the use of robotics and artificial intelligence. We're teaching them to become workers and to work for, to do the jobs that eventually robots are going to take over. So are we eventually going to make our kids redundant because of what we're teaching them in school? What do you think about that?
I don't understand the point.
So at the moment, when kids are in school, they're being taught, for instance, if somebody wants to be an engineer or something, they will be taught to be an engineer. But eventually, a robot is going to be created that is going to take over that job that your child is going through school to be able to do. So are we raising our kids to eventually become redundant because of this whole age of robotics?
I think knowledge is power. As long as you've got common sense and knowledge, you'll be able to function whatever someone throws at you. I studied anthropology. I work in a court. My master's in a completely different subject, but I have streamed somewhere completely different. It's all about knowledge and common sense, really.
An application.
Yeah. It's got
With-
nothing to do with what you study.
With me, I think it does, to be honest. And as I said, I did an internship at an investment bank, and I asked a very similar question to that. I said, when we leave university, what's the certainty that we're going to go out after university? And this is something that a lot of students have spoken to me about as well. What's the certainty that after university, the dream job that we've always wanted is going to be taken over by a robot? And all the qualifications we've gotten to get to that job is useless now. And I think now when we look at it, it's like we're being taught to kind of live in the current moment, kind of. We're being taught about things right now, and we're not, with education, we're not looking into the future, because all the things, a lot of the things that we learn right now inside of school, because I'm a student, I'm in sixth form.
Right.
A lot of the things we learn right now, I know that in 10 years may not be relevant,
Right.
because, and keeping it to the robot topic, I study IT, and a lot of the things we learn in IT, even though it is very beneficial right now, in 10 years a robot's going to be able to do that. So I do agree that I do believe that, you know, the way that the things that we're being taught at this moment in time is like we're being taught for this moment and not for the future, where what we're learning right now is really going to matter.
And I would actually second that point, and I would go beyond that, and I would say that what we are in a position is where we've come from, our parents, for instance, right? They grew up in an era where you went to school, got good grades, got a good job, you worked your 9 to 5, you know, you retired, whatever, you had a pension that took care of you from when you were 55 to 65. I mean, if I was to depend on my pension, I'm not going to get a pension until I'm like 75 or 80, just given my age right now. So we're in a different world altogether, where we need to be thinking outside of the box, right? We need to be thinking about how we can utilize the technologies that we have, and how we can be putting ourselves in a position where we are creating our own future, right? Technology actually, just to give it its props, because we've been quite negative about it, technology is actually a really good facilitator,
I agree.
right? It will help us do that. It will make things a lot more efficient, and we're able to move forward and do that. But the one thing that technology works on is facts and figures, right? It's the facts and figures that we put into it. The difference between us and technology is the fact that we have an emotional mind.
Right.
Right? Other animals, right? You know, monkeys, dogs, whatever, they all have emotional minds. They don't have the balance of a logical mind and an emotional mind. Technology is the other opposite, where it's purely a logical mind, right? We have the balance of both. So that's what technology doesn't have. It doesn't have the ability to be sensitive to situations, or to have empathy, or to have feelings, or to make judgment. It does what it's told to do.
Yeah.
So we need to be able to understand how we use technology, and the people that create it need to be able to be in the position, I think, with a degree of mental stability, amongst other things, including intelligence and everything else, to actually create the technologies that work the way that we need them to work for us to be able to move forward.
And I think with that point, that could either be very beneficial or extremely dangerous, because as you said, we have an emotional mind, and with robots, they have a purely logical mind.
Right.
So if let's go back to the nuclear bombs, if we tell a robot to set off nukes, a robot is going to go, I don't think that's a good idea. It's going to be like, bam, let's set the nukes.
That's right.
And that's why it's really important to control the controller of the robots.
Yeah.
Control the control of the robot.
Yeah.
And maybe not even control them, but educate them,
Yeah.
so that they can make the right decisions when it comes to robots.
So we're coming back to the question of education being important then.
Of course it's important.
Yeah. But then even with that, right now we're not educated to do that, and in the future that's going to be something that's going to need to be done.
And
That's why I say
education is
educated
not
for now.
one-dimensional. That's another thing. Education is not one-dimensional. It needs to be inclusive of everything, and technology is a part of that.
Yeah.
But I think education structures you in life. It teaches you for the future. Sometimes.
Absolutely.
Education is
On that
important.
note, we're going to end the conversation here and continue behind the scenes, I guess. So thank you guys for joining us on Opinionated. Join us next time. Bye.